Yo, what's going on, people? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. I hope you guys are doing well. Really do hope that. I don't know why the light keeps changing. I'm sorry. And if you're wondering what this is, it's actually a sniper outside that he's locked onto me, ensuring I finish this video, the Chelsea news video. So here I am with the changing light levels. I need to sort this out, and I will sort this out eventually, but we're going to go to that cam in just a moment. Welcome back to Chelsea news. Chelsea are in trouble. We're going to get into that. But just the introduction, welcome back. I hope you're doing well, friend. Thank you for joining me in today's video. I appreciate it. We'll be discussing Eden Hazard, Romelu Lukaku, the Chelsea dressing room, and goal returns for all our expensive attackers, offering a sort of sobering and moment and a lucid moment to where we are at. We'll talk about this system as well. Please do drop a like. It means a lot. Helps me out. Thank you. And consider subscribing if you are new. Okay, let's start with Eden Hazard and get this out of the way, because he's really unhappy at Real Madrid. Everyone knows it. He's been spoken about a lot. He looks really upset after the cup final. Real Madrid accepted a transfer fee for Eden Hazard. It was accepted about £33 million plus add-ons. And by the way, if you get Eden Hazard, add-ons are fine, because if you end up paying the add-ons, it's a good thing, trust me. It means he's performing. They accepted the bid. He rejected the transfer, and Marca are suggesting he wants to hold out till the summer. They're also suggesting Chelsea is not an option, which might make sense in a lot of ways. But a lot of us want him back for some reasons, while also being cautious about the move. Essentially, also you've got to people are saying as well, because of Romelu Lukaku's got a great relationship with Hazard for Belgium, that, you know, should he and Hazard were starting together for Chelsea, that might have been a great opportunity for them, and maybe like a Mason Mount behind them or something in like a 1-2. He could have scored more goals, Romelu. Maybe that's true. By the way, Romelu Lukaku is outperforming his XG at Chelsea. Just recently I checked a game or so ago, and he had like 5 goals in 11 shots, which is a ridiculously good return for any footballer, forward, a striker. But obviously he's not been getting into the right positions with basically there's no coherence. There's just massive offensive play dysfunction. We're going to get into that in just a moment. So Hazard, it would have been nice for a few reasons, but it looks like it's not going to happen. Or even if it did, it would be a long shot in the summer. Certainly not in the next, week and a half or whatever there's left in the transfer window. I'm not saying Chelsea won't do business. There's still a chance. Maybe Sergino Dest, Emerson Palmieri recall, maybe even a left field signing that, you didn't expect. This is Chelsea F.C, of course. And obviously, whenever any big story comes up, I will keep you guys updated. You'll be the first to know here on Football Therapy. So, it's light, man. Ensure that you are subscribed with the bell notifications icon switched on. Right, before we talk about the dressing room and dysfunction, I want to highlight a tweet that I looked at from at LDN Football, London Football. He talked about the 200 million worth of attackers, including Hudson-Odoi, who was obviously free, which is fair enough. And it's Werner, Havertz, Pulisic, Ziyech, and Hudson-Odoi. And I'll quickly go through them after I tell you the numbers. Werner in 46 Premier League games. 46 Premier League games. He has... And by the way, I'm sort of just taking this at face value. I haven't fact-checked this, but it's a big account and I trust it. So in 46 Premier League games, Werner has scored 7 goals. Havertz, in 43 Premier League games, Havertz has scored 6 goals. Pulisic, in 64 Premier League games, he scored 16 goals. Now, on a pause there, because that's not actually that bad. That's one as a goal in every 4 games, which, Salah scores a goal a game. He's not Salah, but that is very good still, considering he's a wide forward and been playing as a wing back. Well, it's not very good. It's passable, considering he's a wide forward. He's played as a wing back. He's played as a false 9, which doesn't suit him at all. So when he considering that he might, maybe if he was in his preferred position all the time, it'd be 1 and 3. But let's not, fool ourselves too much. That's largely because of his post-lockdown form under Lampard and before his hamstring injury in the FA Cup final. So, he's not the same player at the moment. But that return isn't bad. He's the best goal scorer out of all of those. Ziyech, 35 Premier League games, 4 goals. Granted, Ziyech is probably more of a creator than the rest of them, but still, 4 in 35 is not good. Hudson-Odoi, who's obviously still, I say he's very young, but so is Havertz, isn't he? 71 Premier League games. Of course, he's been but a large body of that would have been when he's like 17 and stuff, and 18. 4 goals. So obviously Hudson-Odoi's best form and moments came in the Europa League under Sarri, where he looked like a world beater, and then Bayern Munich willing to pay like £70 million for Hudson-Odoi. He still looks amazing with his feet, and he's a really talented player, but that is awful form. Mason Mount hasn't been included on here because he does score some goals. And then of course LDN Football finishes the tweet with over 200 million's worth of attacking talent. He has to improve. Let's quickly go through that and talk about the players individually. Timo Werner works very hard. The fans love him because he's like a funny guy and he keeps working hard and his head never drops. You will win the fans of that. Ultimately, even though he's not a conventional number 9 in the sense of that's why we brought Romelu Lukaku, because we were looking for a number 9 apparently, Werner wasn't that. We still bought him to play down the middle and score goals because he just scored loads of goals at a high level in the Bundesliga. 7 goals and 40. If you before if you stopped Frank Lampard and Petr Cech in that interview of Werner and goes, after 46 Premier League games, he'd have 7 goals. They'd go, oh, sorry, we got to go. They would have got up and left. That is the way it is. Havertz, we didn't buy him to be a goal scorer. He's got 43. He's got 3 less games and 1 less goal. And the thing is with Havertz, he's a bit younger than Werner, and everyone wanted him because he's a bit special. Like the way he can move and the way he's got a certain football intelligence and expression and sort of nonchalance about him that part of his character that does make him quite a special footballer, and he could become something absolutely great. Was it Ralph Rangnick said Chelsea have signed their own Johan Cruyff and he knows something about building teams and players together, if anything, Ralph Rangnick. Havertz, so I don't really want to judge Havertz on those sort of goals, that even though he's played up front sometimes. Then again, he scored the most important goal in his career at Chelsea in a Champions League final that won us our second European Cup. So Havertz is, we've spoken about Pulisic as well with the 16 goals and 64. It's okay. I do worry about him not A, reaching the form that he had before that hamstring injury in the FA Cup final, and B, just not staying fit. Ziyech can look amazing, can do audacious things in moments, and I'd be okay with Ziyech to stick around because he didn't cost that much. He cost the same as Danny Drinkwater. Do you know what I mean? And and unlike Danny Drinkwater, we use him all the time, and he can do big moments. So I would be happy not selling Ziyech and just letting him, go into his early 30s at Chelsea and doing a sort of Pedro with him almost. Personally, if we can sort out the rest of attack. Hudson-Odoi, I don't know. Hindsight, that loan to Dortmund probably would have been an amazing thing. Well, it wouldn't have been. Tuchel would have hated it because he's used him a lot. And he's like, I trust you as an attacker. I trust you as a wingback. So he never would have wanted him to go. But looking at his offensive development, actually, would that even have been good for Hudson-Odoi? Look at Jadon Sancho, who absolutely cooked for Dortmund and scored loads of goals and assisted, came to the Premier League and just struggled again. So, I don't know, man. Maybe a systemic thing. Maybe he needs this like emotional epiphany. But I wanted to talk about those attackers before we talk about the dressing room. And here's an opportunity to do that now. So don't need to look at stats. I can just chat with you now. I'll move the microphone closer. Don't need to look at stats. We can just talk about this. People are speculating about the Chelsea dressing room. Alan Shearer said it after Hakim Ziyech didn't celebrate the goal. He talked about disharmony in the dressing room, and that's likely what he thought this was. I kind of understand why Shearer would gravitate to that. But Ziyech has done this before. This is not the first time he scored a goal and not celebrated. It's almost because this is my perception of it. I feel like it's almost not that he's too cool for school, but he's a little bit I haven't been scoring lately and that's not good enough, so I'm not going to celebrate one here. I'll start celebrating when I'm on 15 goals and 10 assists or something. That's kind of the read I get on his character. I don't necessarily think there's an issue with that, but I am open to the idea that there's problems in the Chelsea dressing room. First and foremost, what Thomas Tuchel said, I absolutely agree with. Exhaustion. Their game against Brighton, they're a well-coached side. They're at home with good atmosphere. We'd played, what was it, 15 games since the beginning of December. They'd played 9. And we had the pressure of this like title race looming over us that was slipping out of our hands. Brighton were just like, free hit, man, just do your thing, see how high we can, do, and do you know what I mean? They're not going to get relegated, so let's just have a good time. And that ultimately makes them play well. They're a fantastic team, deserve a lot of respect with a good coach. I do have sympathy for Tuchel. When Tuchel's not pissed off, when he's like chill and being like, philosophical about things and pre-match press conferences. I know you don't want to judge a manager in a post-match, presser because they're going to be annoyed because they just lost, had Jose done a post-match presser yesterday, rather than being like, oh, they're tired and we need to be rejuvenated, that's one of Jose's classic, my work has been betrayed kind of thing. And Tuchel says great things like, at Chelsea, I feel like I can be the best version of myself, and he talks about compassion, understanding, and enjoyment, but dedication, and every element of like sort of sociological and emotional and empathetic elements of football management, and I like that. He's quite philosophical. If sometimes he can be a bit snippy sometimes, and that's starting to show more and more. But all managers can, I guess, except maybe someone like Carlo Ancelotti. I don't know. So I back Tuchel. I am concerned with the lack of cohesion in the final third. I've talked about it on this channel before. The offensive dysfunction in the final third of the pitch. That is like earlier in this video I've reeled off the numbers. Granted, they go back to Lampard's tenure. Generally, we scored more under Lampard, but that came at the expense of the defence. So let's talk about the defence quickly for Thomas Tuchel. That's what made Chelsea great. For a long spell, we were conceding like 0.4 goals per game or something ridiculous. Like we were breaking records for goals conceded. Like we'd only just conceded a goal in open play, like, seemingly months into this campaign. What did Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea do? Well, you can't score against them. The way they play, they prevent you from giving up big chances against. And because of that, they can the opposition, like, well, what do we do? And then Chelsea, we don't necessarily sit in a block and counter-attack like a Burnley, but we play the game in all thirds of the pitch, but we defend from the front, and we can also take onus in a game as well. So, but in the sense of, right, the opposition can't score against us, it's been X amount of time, their heads can't get around it, and then we use our sort of vibes to score 1 or 2 goals. 1 goal maybe from the attackers every now and again, 1 might come from all of them, slowly building up those aforementioned numbers. Or the wing-backs cook, the centre-backs cook, the odd goal from even the midfielder, penalties from Jorginho. Do you know what I mean? So we'd win 1-0, 2-0, we didn't care, we were like tight and concise, and we're feeling good. Chelsea have 1 clean sheet in the last 11 games. That is identity gone. Chelsea no longer, or for now, don't have that element of, well, people just don't score against us. People always score against us. 1 clean sheet in 11 games. And that ultimately is largely our downfall, as well as the defensive lack of offensive cohesion, And I've talked about this before on relatively recent videos. You're welcome to go back. Chelsea just vibes up front. The players have underperformed. That's largely their own faults, but I kind of have sympathy for them as well because they're not in a environment conducive to their success, because they're constantly chopping and changing. Lukaku, who I think I said has outscored his XG, outperformed his XG, he's been with 11 different combinations in terms of personnel and positions. Where do you build? It's like Tuchel's like, well, none of it works, try again. None of this works, try again. He keeps rolling the dice over and over, and he's like waiting for it to stick and goes, right, we'll do that for a bit. It's not working. And on top of that, the defense, and this is not a slight on the defenders. Thiago Silva's been nothing short of magnificent. Rudiger, excellent. Do you know what I mean? Lang Sar's been alright when he's coming. It's the defensive unit and systemic defending that has now failed us, and we're now giving up chances. So the dressing room, to bring it back round to what we were discussing originally in the dressing room, Yes, I think there's a little bit of a problem there. And I think it's largely, it's not apathy, no, because the players want to do well. They're champions of Europe. They've got pride. Like, you look at a Man United that have been not good for a while, that's when apathy sinks in. You know, your Paul Pogba's feel like, I could have been so great if I wasn't here. I feel a bit apathetic. And, you know, there might be other players as well. Because Chelsea are literally the champions of Europe, the reigning champions of Europe, they're going to have that pride. Like, we're good. No, we're good. So I don't think it's apathetic, people being apathetic. I think this is going to be quite reductionist, but I think it's the Romelu Lukaku interview, and yes, we were a little bit poor before in December, but we had an incredibly difficult run in December. It was like frustrating moments, and then we got a little bit better. We won Romelu was scoring in consecutive games. We had a good win against Villa, and it looked like we were sort of playing okay again. And then this, yes, we beat Spurs twice in the cup, which was a great result. We outclassed them, but I don't think we needed to be particularly amazing. I think Spurs were particularly bad. And, it's welcome. It's a welcome for a Chelsea fan to enjoy and watch that. But ultimately, I think there's a problem in the dressing room. And although that, when Ziyech scored against Brighton, they all celebrated together, even though Ziyech looked annoyed and grumpy. I think there's a problem where people feel on edge. They feel uncertain of themselves. They're not like... they've lost the element of we're sort of Chelsea. I don't think there's particular bitching between the players, but I think there's an underlying thing with Romelu Lukaku. Now, I'm not going to just say in a naive way, Lukaku out, we've got to sell our record signing immediately after buying him, because I understand that's not how business works, especially in football. And also, I'm not, going to say the fact how I'm not going to suggest we can't make it work with Lukaku. Lukaku, people don't want to hear this, say this quietly, Lukaku is a world-class striker. He is, mate. He's got an amazing return. He's got a great return in the Premier League, over 100 Prem goals. He went to a bad Man United side where they misused him, and he still scored goals. He went to an Inter side that utilised him well. He exploded, won all kinds of accolades and stuff. And it's been great for Belgium in a front three system. He's a great player. He really is. And when he's fit and firing and in the right mental zone, he can be really helpful. Is he the perfect profile for Chelsea? I'd argue probably not. But are any of the forwards that Chelsea have a great profile for Chelsea? I'd argue probably not. What is our profile? And their life the problem. They're all talented. People have their forwards that they want to hate. Oh, I hate Ziyech, I hate Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi is so bad, he's not a wonder kid. Everyone will say that about each player, but the truth is they're all really talented, and their reasons why they were scouted, but they were the wrong reasons. Ultimately, we looked at them because they were talented footballers. We didn't look at them because we have a philosophical ethos in how we want to build for the future. Do you know what I mean? But that's what it is. Anyway, let's wind it down. Oh my god, I've spoken forever. Yeah, I'll end it there. So let me know your thoughts, feelings and opinions. Comment down below. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you later.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me baby.